Vijay Drahnoi. I will speak now.
Greetings, all ye fiends of chaos. DJ Curlyjaw here. This interval of programming on WDMN is brought to you in part by our wonderful sponsors at Brimstone. Brimstone is the premier dating app of the underworld, connecting you to succubi and sloth demons, ice fiends and eldritch horrors, and so much more. Download the app today. You are listening to WDMN, community radio for the Chaos Realms, the Dreamlands, and even the Mortal Realm. If you know, you know. And now, back to the Woodman.
And you are all back again here with me, the Woodman. That last song we heard before the break was Socialize by Gast Buff. Great song, that. A perfect way to wind up the music portion of the show. Which of course means that it is now time to slide over to the phone bank and take some calls from our beloved listeners. Now, for those of you who might be new to the program, this is the part of the show where people call in, ask questions, and get answers. Some of our callers are demons, denizens of the Chaos Realms who might be seeking knowledge or information. Some of our callers are humans who have pierced the veil and discovered that things in their reality are not as they seem. And some are just regular old humans who are about to make that same discovery. If you know, you know. Homunculus Todd, hit me up with that first call. Sra'Kali, you are live with the Woodman.
Hello, Woodman. Long-time listener. Love your show.
We're glad to have you on the air tonight. What's on your mind?
So, my question is about human stuff. You see, I've been in this relationship with a human for a couple of years now. It's mostly been them summoning me for an evening or weekend. Never anything really long-term. Except that recently, they've been letting me stick around for longer periods of time. And they've even started taking me out in public with them. One time we even went to this thing called a mall, which reminded me of the markets in the glossary. Anyways, I've been seeing my human paying for stuff with paper money, or sometimes with a card. I know how currency works, but it's gotten me thinking, why couldn't I just summon whatever things my human wanted or needed? Like, are there rules about that sort of thing in the mortal realm? Is what I summon going to go missing from someplace else? Am I going to get in trouble? I thought you might have some answers.
Well, Sra'Kali, fortunately, this isn't the first time I've had to give advice on this kind of situation. You're not even the first caller to the show with this question. It's a more common problem than you might think. There aren't exactly any rules for this kind of situation, but there are a few of what one might call guidelines. In your case, I would keep the conjuring of items out of thin air to a minimum. Out in public, it tends to raise questions that your human might find hard to deal with. But when you're in private, There's really nothing wrong with a little recreational conjuring. Talk to your partner about it. Figure out what works for both of you. And feel free to send me a card addressed to the letter bag and let me know how things went.
Will do. And, thank you for the advice.
Anytime. Okay, next caller.
Is hell really hot? Like, is it the fiery pit of hell everyone says it is? Lake of fire, demons with red-hot pitchforks, screaming sinners, all that good stuff?
Well now, have I ever got some news for you, caller? Hell isn't real. Not the way you're thinking of it, anyway. However, there is a portion of the Chaos Realms, the place where the demons dwell outside of your mortal reality, that is quite similar to what you've described. In the Chaos Realm of Fire, there really is a giant lake of fire. There are demons that live nearby, and bizarre demon fish that live in the lake. And it's hot and smoky and quite unpleasant to be around if you're not used to that sort of thing. But it's not a place where anyone is sent to be punished. That's just a popular image your human literature has cooked up on its own. That having been said, if you ever find yourself, for whatever strange, far-fetched reason, somewhere in the general vicinity of the Lake of Fire, I highly recommend finding a place from which you can enjoy the view. Alrighty. Homunculus Todd, give us our next caller. Interesting. Sounds almost like a chat handle. 0+, you are on the air with the Woodman.
Hi, I need some advice on a personal matter. A very personal matter. I need to know the best way to slay a demon.
You are aware that you're calling a radio show hosted by a demon, yes?
Well aware, yes. In fact, that's why I'm calling you. You're my last avenue of potentially useful information. Short of actually, summoning something.
Homunculus Todd, get a trace going on this call.
Well, perhaps if you were to explain your situation a little.
Yeah, sure. It's my cousin. Either he is a demon, or severely possessed by one. And he just messed with the wrong slayer.
Go on.
He does this thing where he can make stuff float around. Levitation, telekinesis, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, he had a bunch of stuff floating around the living room one night while we were watching TV, and some of it knocked over my milkshake. Spilled it all over my fries and nuggets and the rest of my food. $50 worth of kaiju burger takeout. Totally ruined. My cousin offered to conjure up some replacement food, but I told him to stick it. This isn't the first time he's done this. Ruined my food, or turned my cat different colors, or made all my vinyl records play backwards. So I told him to get out of my apartment, and if I ever caught him doing anything demonic again, I was gonna end him. And a week later, he was outside my window, just staring in at me.
That doesn't sound all that weird.
I live on the 9th floor of my building. He was floating in the air 9 stories off the ground.
I see. Go on, then.
Ever since then, he's been stalking me. He's not behaving normally. He just keeps showing up unannounced. He keeps asking me to let him into the apartment. I tried salting the doors and windows. I've tried holy water and a squirt gun. I tried a bunch of different rituals my friends on Discord suggested. Nothing works. Either my friends are idiots, or they're just not powerful enough rituals. I can't do this anymore. This demon thing, whatever's taken over my cousin, I don't know what he wants from me. I think he's after me. I think he's trying to take my soul. So, I guess my real question is, what do I have to do to stop my cousin? None of these rituals are working. My uncle looked over the book I had for one of them, and he told me it wouldn't work because I'm only a half-demon myself, and he said...
I'm sorry. What was that?
No, yeah. Guess I should have mentioned that. Strange family tree and all. I'm a half-demon on my father's side. Different demonic line from my cousins, I guess. Okay, so I know my story sounds like a bunch of crap right now. Part of it is, but I really do need to find a way to get this guy off my back. What can I do? Is there like some secret weapon or ritual I can use? Some place I can go? I'm at my wit's end here. I just need some help.
I'll say. Here's what you need to do if you want the most effective means to neutralize your cousin. What you'll need to do is find yourself a large granite orb. About the size of a bowling ball should do nicely. You'll want to get some stone carver's tools, specifically those designed for working with granite. Into this granite sphere, you will need to carve your cousin's true name, along with every wrong he has done to you. When you have completed the carving, you must submerge the stone completely in rainwater that has not passed through any sort of pipe. Rinse away all the dust and chips, and then remove the orb from the water and let it dry in the open air. This having been done, coat the orb completely in a thin layer of your own blood and let that dry. Then, place the orb into a clean burlap sack, and then place that into another, also clean, burlap sack. Go to a place where you know you will encounter your cousin, and from a place of concealment, you will wait for him to pass near you. When he is close enough, swing the burlap sack with the orb in it with all the force you can muster. You want to aim for the left buttock. Hit him good and solid. Make that muscle group cramp up. And when he's down, then you can try to talk some sense into your cousin. Find out what he wants from you, work something out, and get your family relationships all sorted. Trust me, your cousin won't be walking anywhere for a while. Alrighty. Next caller.
Hello there. I love listening to your show, and I love hearing all the questions your callers have. So, I have a question for you. What is the biggest desire you have? Why do you want, well, this? And apologies for my rudeness here, but why in the 7 rings of hell is Lucifer frozen to his nips in the ice? Could you please explain that to me?
My most fervent wish, currently, is that I could punch Dante Alighieri in the face. There is only one person who has single-handedly popularized more misconceptions about demons. I feel certain that Dante was an agent of the Fae, writing his works and spreading them about as part of a propaganda program. Most of what he wrote is absolute garbage, and not at all trusted by any true scholars of demonic lore. Though he did get a few details right in all of his mad, rambling literary wanderings, like the part about Lucifer. As a matter of fact, there is indeed a demon called Lucifer, who really is encased right up to his chesticles in a frozen lake near the center of the realm of ice, the frigid empire of the demon prince Kixrickle. And the reason Lucifer is stuck that way, dear caller, has nothing to do with myself. No, Lucifer lost a bet with Kixrickle, who has absolutely no sense of humor. Words were exchanged, and then curses, and then the Arbiters Guild stepped in, and now Lucifer is spending the next 10,000 years frozen bare-ass in Kixrickle's ice pond. But yes, most of the rest of Dante's work, absolute rubbish. Scarcely a credible word in the whole lot. All right then. Homunculus Todd, I think it's time for a quick station break. Bring up one of those sweet, sweet local radio commercials. You are listening to The Woodman on WDMN. We'll be right back.
Hello, all you music-loving demons, mages, and edgy little humans. I'm DJ Curlyjaw. Do you want more goth in your life? Check out Over the Edge on Community Radio for East Central Illinois, 90.1 FM, WEFT Champaign. Gothic industrial music every Saturday night at 10 p.m. Central. Listen online at new.weft.org/listen. Facebook page at facebook.com/WEFT Over the Edge, and playlist archives at spinatron.com. Just search for Over the Edge. It's got the darkest, most electronic, angstiest, edgiest music from goth industrial artists and more. And the DJ is just as crazy as I am. You are listening to WDMN, community radio for the Chaos Realms, the Dreamlands, and even the Mortal Realm. If you know, you know. And now back to The Woodman.
And we are back. If you are just now joining us, this is WDMN, and you are listening to The Woodman. Homunculus Todd, give us our next caller.
Good evening. I have a question regarding a legal matter. Let me preface this by stating that I have been in contract bound to a human age for 63 years. I've been performing all the regular duties of a demonic familiar and keeping exactly to the terms of my contract. My master has had no cause to find fault in my work, and not once have I tried to bend or break the contract. But recently, while performing one of my usual errands, I accidentally made a deal with another human. I don't want to take up your time with the details of it. Suffice to say that mistakes were made. And I really need to know if this side deal I made is going to cause issues with my contract with my master, or if there's some legal loophole or something in play here. Would you be able to tell me if this is the case?
An interesting question, caller. There are a few routes you could take with this one. If your personal relationship with your master is, shall we say, informal enough that you feel comfortable discussing this incident with them, take the matter to them and talk it out. If not, you might want to take a good close look at your contract with them, as well as considering the exact nature of whatever side deal you've inadvertently wandered into. See if you can find anything that causes a conflict of interest. Sometimes a familiar's contract contains a specific loophole, allowing for minor side deals. Sometimes not. You'll definitely want to find that out. Better safe than sorry. I'm no legal expert, though, especially when it comes to contract bonds. But you should be able to very easily contact a member of the Arbiters Guild. They specialize in matters of this sort, and should be perfectly equipped to sort out your particular case. Good luck. Next caller. You are live with the Woodman.
Do I really need my soul? Can we make a cool contract?
Well now, dear caller. There's a question for the philosophers indeed. Your soul is the totality of what makes you, you. Think of it like a character profile, but for reality. Your soul is the essence of what you are, what you have been, what you will become. When you're born, it comes into being, and when you die, it usually evaporates into the ether again. But there are ways it can continue on after, and one of those ways is if your soul is part of a demonic contract.
So, what kind of perks are there? If I make a contract, I mean.
Oh, it could be all sorts of things. It could be as simple as having a mostly invisible friend who's always there when you need them. They can get you stuff like fast food, concert tickets, lost items, things like that. And they're always there to talk if you need them. Or something much more involved. Fame, fortune, the body you've always wanted, the partner you've always wanted. I've even heard there are some demons who can change your entire life overnight. They can make you an entirely new person, give you an entirely new life to live on whatever terms you choose. They can give you the power to change the world, or to rule it. Or so the stories go.
I'm sold. Sign me up. How do we start?
Oh, not so fast, not so fast. Contracts are not my specialty. But I'll tell you what I can do. You just stay on the line, and we'll transfer you to one of our associate contact centers. They'll put you in touch with a deal-maker's liaison. You'll have yourself a legally and spiritually binding contract before you know it.
Thank you so, so much. I'll remember this when I'm Empress of the World, or whatever.
I wish you the very best in your negotiations. Homunculus Todd, if you would, please transfer this delightful caller to our Deals Are Us contact center. Let's keep the show rolling and take our next call.
Hi there. My name's Mary Ellen. I've got a real problem here. I was driving up that big hill down on the corner of 49th and Holland Street, and it seems that my clutch totally burnt out. Now, my husband says it's because I ride the clutch all the time and he can fix it. I know for a fact that it's his fault. He grinds my gears constantly trying to be like that Vin Diesel fella from those car racing movies. Should I let my husband have a go at fixing it? Or should I take it to the handsome mechanic down by the Food Lion? Thanks a ton.
Well, I'm sorry for your troubles, Mary Ellen. This really isn't a show that deals with mechanical problems, especially automotive issues. I suspect you're thinking of those two brothers with the Car Talk radio show. I don't own a car myself. Being a demon of a certain standing and prestige, I find I have no need of one. But if I did own one, I think I would have it serviced by a qualified professional. You should ask yourself, Mary Ellen, whether your husband is capable of making this repair competently on his own, or if you would prefer the services of the handsome Food Lion mechanic. The choice is yours to make.
Homunculus Todd, I thought I told you to keep a tighter filter on the phone bank. Remember what happened last time, with the lawyers calling the show? Don't let it happen again. I will not be pleased.
I think it may be time for another quick break. This is The Woodman.
Do you have too many dreams? Are there dreams you'd rather not remember having? Would you like to help out those unfortunate souls who are unable to dream on their own? Well, now you can! The Dream Clinic would like very much to work with you as part of their dream donation program. For just a few hours spent dreaming each week, you can be among the thousands of dream donors who have their dreams collected and implanted into the minds of the dreamless. Contacting the Dream Clinic is easy. You can just use any permanent marker to write the words Dream Donor Program, followed by a question mark on your forearm before going to sleep. The Dream Clinic's collection algorithms will pick you up within a few nights and work out a donation schedule. And now, back to the Woodman, here on WDMN.
And we are back. You are listening to The Woodman, and you are listening in on WDMN, community radio for the Chaos Realms and beyond. Now, let's have our next caller.
Good evening. I'm a first-time caller, but I've listened to your show a few times. I think it's very interesting. I have a question. So I understand that a lot of people summon demons for stuff, like different services rendered by the demons. Getting a familiar, having a demon servant to do things in exchange for souls, summoning a succubus for things like cuddles and hand-holding and this and that. You know, getting demons to do things for you. Services rendered and all that. Suppose, hypothetically, pathetically speaking, that I wanted someone, how do I say this? What's a good term for having someone, demonetized. Yes, that's the word I want. What's the best way I could go about getting someone demonetized, if you catch my meaning?
I think I do catch your meaning, caller. Now, I have to preface this by saying that demonetization is an activity I thoroughly disapprove of. However, you did call in with a question, and I do have answers. So long as you're doing it for the right reasons, we can put you in touch with a professional demonetizer.
I can assure you, it is for very, very good reasons. I'll not go into the specifics, but long story short, somebody needs demonetized.
Well, you seem determined in your course of action, caller. And since I'm not exactly the most credible authority on ethics, I won't try to argue the case with you. That's a matter for your own conscience to decide. Why don't you stay on the line, and Homunculus Todd will give you some contact information. You'll be able to get in touch with exactly the sort of demon who specializes in these cases. Homunculus Todd, please give our dear caller the information they need to contact Gazir Jam, the demonetizer.
One more thing. What does this sort of service usually cost? Is it expensive?
Oh, no charge at all. My advice costs exactly what it's truly worth. Nothing whatsoever. Ah, humor. But I take it you're referring to the cost of the, demonetization services. That will depend entirely on whatever contract you strike up with Gazir Jam. I can't speak for his prices, never having needed to retain his services, but I imagine it's quite steep. You may want to consider that, and good luck. Next caller.
Hi there. Please forgive my slow words and way of speaking. I don't really talk very often. Also, for various reasons, I am what might be called very shy. I live by myself, on the edge of a large but rather secluded village. I have been here a long time. I don't remember how long exactly, but I think I remember when people first came to the valley where the village is now. Times were very tough then. The first winter that the people spent in the valley, they ran very low on food. I did what I could to help them by leaving game animals outside of their houses when the snow was too thick for the hunters to go out. At first, the people wouldn't accept the gifts, since they did not know the source of it. Then a few of them saw me one night when they happened to glance out their window while I was hanging a deer up in their churchyard. That's when I learned about firearms. But I guess their hesitation about eating mystery meat was drowned by the rumbling of their bellies, eventually. And by the time spring came, they were pretty used to it, and they didn't get shot at again. The years came and went, and more people arrived in the valley and settled there. I used to sneak up to people's houses in the dark of night and listen to the stories they told by their fires. I heard some of the first settlers telling stories of that hard winter, and I told about the strange creature that came out of the night and left meat so the people could eat. After a while, I must have become part of the folklore of the townspeople. In their stories, I heard them begin to refer to me as the Drahnoi. I don't know if it has a meaning, or if it's just a name sound they chose for me. But I think I like it. It seems to fit me somehow. One night, while I was investigating the contents of the village trash mitten, I found an old, broken pair of snowshoes. To my complete surprise, I discovered that I have quite a talent for repairing things that are broken. I was able to make the snowshoes like new again. I did the same thing with several other discarded and broken things I found in the trash. And then I left them in a small pile in the center of the village. Some months of doing this led to the townsfolk leaving their broken possessions on their doorsteps or on the side of the road in crates and boxes. I would fix things up and leave them for the people to find. Sometimes they would leave little offerings of food or a note thanking me for my work. At least, I like to think that's what they were. I don't know how to read. And so now the Drahnoi legend of the town has shifted from the frightening creature from the winter storms who left meat for the starving settlers to the mysterious and helpful, but probably still dangerous, fixer of broken things. I like this village. I like being part of their local folklore. And I like fixing things. But I never get to talk to any of the people. Honestly, I think I avoid them as much as they avoid me. Like I said, I'm shy. And I don't think I would really fit in among the people. My appearance is rather... I think humans prefer their neighbors to be much more their own size, and with fewer claws and fangs. I also think they might be made more than a little nervous by the red glow of my eyes. Last week, I found an old radio in the trash mitten, and also a telephone. I got show. I've been working up the courage to call you ever since. It's become very lonely here in this valley. There's no one else like me here, and I really want to know what's out there in the wider world. I want to know if there are others I can maybe meet and talk to. Perhaps even others like me.
That's a very touching story. Being lonely can be a very dreadful burden to bear. I sympathize with you, and I think I know of a way to get you in touch with others like yourself. We have, as one of the station resources, a cadre of volunteer demons who go out into the Chaos realms and the mortal realm as well, and they find things. I think they can find you and make contact if you do the following. Go out from this village of yours. It doesn't have to be far away, just out of sight of wandering eyes, and do it at night. Make 3 fires at the points of a triangle 20 feet to a side. Build the fires of thick logs so they'll burn a long time. Into one of the fires, place a large handful of copper wire or tubing. Into another fire, place several pieces of iron or steel. And into the third fire, some pieces of glass. I'm sure you can find all of these things in the village garbage dump. Once you've prepared these fires, find someplace nearby where you can watch them. If necessary, repeat this ritual over multiple nights. Watch the fires and call out with your mind to those who are seeking. It may take some time, but our volunteer cadre of finders should be able to home in on your fires and your calls. They'll make contact with you and go from there. Be patient and be reassured. You are not alone. And I think that sets us up for another station break. You are listening to The Woodman on WDMN.
This is WDMN, community radio for the Chaos Realms and beyond. If you're looking for something a little different to pour into your ears, check out Eldritch Hours with Uncle Duncan every Tuesday from noon to dusk on WHBL, community radio serving the Arkham, Innsmouth, Newburyport area. You'll hear everything from the harmonic choir to the dread pirate robots, to the unholy piping of flutes and the hideous beating of drums at the edge of unraveling reality, plus occasional wise commentary and local news bulletins by Uncle Duncan himself. It's always a treat for the ears, and sometimes a test of the soul. That's Eldritch Hours with Uncle Duncan, every Tuesday from noon to dusk on WHBL. If you know, you know. All hail Mother Hydra. And now, back to the Woodman on WDMN.
Welcome back. I think we have time for another call or two. Next caller, you are live with the Woodman.
Hello, Mr. Woodman. I am calling with a question about demons. I have read many books about demons. Many old books with rituals and blood magic and familiars. Also many new books and stories I find on internet. Many stories about finding a demon husband or boyfriend and someone called senpai. And several books and stories mention finding such a demon by going at night to a deserted crossroads and waiting. Waiting or maybe perform some ritual of summoning. Is there something like this you know about? Some best ritual to enact at Crossroads? To bring me demon boyfriend?
Ah, yes. The alluring demons of the Crossroads. There are various rituals that you can use to make yourself known to a Crossroads demon, in fact. But you want to be careful that the demon you're calling up is, in fact, the demon you want to summon. Because there are Crossroads demons, and then there are demons of the Crossroads. The two categories are not always the same. And some demons only use the Crossroads as a point of transport, while other demons reside there exclusively. Does that help any?
Maybe? Maybe a little bit? You see, I have been hanging out myself at Crossroads late at night for some time now. And from time to time I see this tall, dark, handsome figure. Sometimes he comes walking down the road and vanishes at the middle of Crossroads. Other times he appears in the middle of road and walks away into darkness, and I do not see him again for some time. I wish to meet this apparition, to get to know him and to let him get to know me. And perhaps we can go places together, see things, travel the world, go fishing for kittens perhaps. Many things I wish to do to him. Many things I wish to do with him. Can you help the girl out, kind woodman? I would be greatly appreciating.
It is my pleasure to help. As to your tall, dark, handsome demon in particular, I would suggest continuing to wait there for him. If, as you say, you occasionally see him, odds are that you will continue to see him. And if you were to bring with you, say, a large covered dish containing a home-cooked meal, preferably one with a strong aromatic component, I'm sure that would increase your chances. The next time you see your demon at the Crossroads, call out to him and offer him the food. Then offer to bring him back to your home. And if he agrees, why then, when you get him home, you can offer him other things as well. Good luck. Alrighty, we have time for one last caller. Homunculus Todd, hook me up with a good one. Okay, our last caller is... Bog. Kyle from Cleveland. Again. You are on the air with the Woodman.
Hey there, buddy. I'm glad to see that you remember me from my last few calls. You didn't think you'd get rid of me that easy, did you?
Kyle, we spoke about this the last time you called.
Oh, blah, blah, blah. Freedom of speech, pal. I can say whatever I want. And speaking of saying things, I've been listening to all those callers that you've had on tonight, and they sound about as contrived and about as scripted as any of the other callers that I've heard on your show. Even that Mary Ellen lady. It's all fake. I know it.
One.
I bet you've got a small army of people writing up all the call scripts and then acting them out, pretending to be whatever demons or cryptids or whatever you need to make this week's show sound good.
2.
It's all garbage, man. You keep airing this stupid show and pretending to have demons calling in, having people pretend to call about demons, and even pretending that you are some kind of demon or something yourself.
3.
How long are you going to keep up this sham, dude? Your whole show is just dumb. It's no better than any other radio talk show out there. It's a lot worse than most of them, actually. You radio people are all alike. You'll do and say anything just to get some airspace and start spouting off about all sorts of crazy stuff. Demons, cryptids, the whole 9 yards. Next, you'll be trying to sell your own brand of demon body wash or special spellcasting books.
My dear listeners, you are going to have to excuse me for a moment. I've had about enough of this.
Holy shit! Where the hell did you come from? Okay, I'll never call again. All right. I'm sorry.
Listen here, you annoying little rat. I will say this to you exactly once. I have had enough of your petty little calls to my show. It is a serious program, being aired for serious purposes and being accessed by serious people. So, if you ever again even think about harassing me, or by extension to the show, my callers and listeners, I will take a very serious interest in seeing you suffer for a very, very long time.
No!
Have I made myself clear? Or do you need more convincing? How would you like to wake up one night to find out that your dream of falling is real, and that you're actually falling out of the sky toward the earth? No. Are you sure?
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry.
That's what I thought. We are done, Kyle. Do not call my show again.
Dear listeners, I must apologize for that little outburst. This is but the latest in an ongoing irritation that, thankfully, has now been dealt with.
Homunculus Todd, we just talked about this. You have one job.
I think that's all the time we have for taking calls. Let's move on to the last segment for the night, the letter bag. Let's see what's in the letter bag this week. Arceus0 writes, "If we make a contract, do I get demon powers? Are you my familiar now, or are you going to try to possess me? May I summon you again if this goes well, even just to talk?" I'm going to answer this as broadly as I can, since I don't do contracts myself. But generally speaking, the powers one gets from a contract do depend on the nature and wording of the contract. Some folk do get demonic equivalent powers, and some don't. Depending on how one has structured their contract and the nature of the demon involved, the relationship can take on that of a demon familiar and their human master. Very rarely will a demon actually attempt to possess someone under the guise of entering into a contract agreement. In fact, one is far more likely to be possessed by one of the Fae than an actual demon. But that is perhaps a story for another show. And as to your final question, why not call into the show sometime? I'll have Homunculus Todd keep an eye out for you. All right. Archive Stacker writes, "What drove you to fall from grace?" Perhaps the answer wouldn't be quite as straightforward as the question. The fall from grace. One of many misconceptions about demon folk. We've none of us fallen from any sort of grace. At least, not so far as I ever heard. Occasionally, some demon or other will get imprisoned down here in the mortal realm. Usually for some petty and vengeful reason. But, for the most part, we demons are just here for a good time. Or a long time. Preferably both. Now, this one sounds interesting. Mother of Night writes, "To whom it may concern, I represent an organization that investigates paranormal, supernatural, and anomalous activities and entities. We are very curious about some of the topics you've discussed on several episodes of your radio show. Would you be willing to meet with myself, or perhaps another representative of the organization? I've included some contact information on the back of this letter. We'd like to talk." Fascinating. I think I'd like to talk to this organization as well. Could make for quite the interesting conversation. Perhaps we might be able to set up an interview in the studio. Maybe even run it as a live appearance. I do believe I'll get on that as soon as we are off the air tonight. Okay. Not+0 writes, "How can I tell if someone really is a demon, and not just really into cosplay?" Oh, that's a good one. I've been to a number of cosplay conventions myself, both to do interviews and as a cosplayer, and I can tell you from long experience, it's sometimes extremely hard to tell. Heck, I've seen several demon cosplays that were so convincing, I started talking about some activities that are less than healthy for humans to know about. That got awkward in a hurry. and I've also run into more than a few of my fellow demons at such conventions. You'd be amazed at what just a little bit of body paint and foam prosthetics can do. Why, I once saw a 9-foot-tall, 4-armed succubus walking around the middle of a convention with barely a stitch of clothing on, and everyone in the place was totally cool with it. Turned out it was one of my neighbors, and all she'd done was put on some purple body paint and sharpened her horns a little. Wani writes, "What do demons actually do with the souls? Do they keep them and pet them sometimes? Do they keep them like fish in a tank? And what can I get in exchange for my soul?" That gets a little complicated. There are so many things that can be done with a soul, if one has the right skills to do it. Souls can be made into a kind of currency. In fact, the coin of the realm in Carcery, the quintessi, is a human soul bound into a lattice of red mercury. It looks like a reddish gold coin, but it's a human soul in token form. Some of the deal makers have, special uses for the souls they collect. Sometimes the souls get made into money, sometimes clothing or other useful objects. Mostly they get used for more esoteric activities. From what I understand, the deal makers put souls to use as something midway between currency and raw computing power. Like Bitcoin, but actually useful for something. I never heard of anyone keeping an unbound soul as a pet, though. Souls in their ethereal state make for very poor pets, I think. They tend to get made into things pretty quickly. As to what you can get in exchange for your soul, well, as one deal maker said long ago, the sky's the limit. It all depends on the power of the demon in question, but usually you get exactly what you pay for. Stormcoming writes, "What does a soul taste like? Are they better innocent or guilty as sin?" That's a little complicated to describe. I've eaten a few souls before, on occasion. Part of a ceremonial feast in the realm of Abyss, actually. There's a complex balance of flavor, scent, texture, and psychic essence that's hard to explain. Imagine a large sheet of sausage casing, but with the texture and flavor of cotton candy, and as thin as a soap bubble. They mostly have a very subtle scent to them, something like strawberries and coins. It's very faint. There's an extremely fine hint of ashes and dust right at the end, too. And the whole time you're eating it, you get these tiny little flashes of memory. It's very odd. As to whether they taste better innocent or guilty, I'm not entirely sure that it matters. Nurse Penny writes, "This is a friendly reminder from the Dream Clinic that you have an appointment with us next week to have your tooth implants resharpened. Please contact us if there is any issue with your current appointment time." 7 hells. I'd nearly forgotten about that. How convenient that the reminder showed up in the letter bag. And one more letter before we move on. Damn, that's a cool name. Surrogate Sky Curtain writes, what is the biggest culture shock that demons experience when visiting the mortal realm for the first time? Oh, that's a good one. And one with a variable answer. Some demons are incredibly capable of assimilating with human culture their very first time down here on this level of reality. But that's mainly due to having the right cheat codes. Others are not so fortunate. In my own case, probably the most shocking thing to me was the sheer variance of the acceptance by humans of things supernatural and weird. Like how some people absolutely refuse to believe what's happening right before their faces, while others will look at a 10-foot-tall avatar of pride and be like, this is fine, and then snap a selfie with it before continuing right on with their regular daily schedule. And I think that about wraps up tonight's show. I'd like to thank each and every one of our dear and wonderful listeners for tuning in once again. And I hope you'll all join me for the next one. Next up, we have your favorite sloth demon, hosting the ever-popular program Wolf Girl Stories with Golotchka. You've been listening to The Woodman, here on WDMN.
This interval of programming on WDMN is brought to you in part by the undisputed full-body transformational expert of the Dreamlands, Amentos the Fleshmaker. Whether you want a few minor adjustments to your facial features or an entirely new body with all sorts of fun and interesting appendages, the Fleshmaker will be happy to work with you. You are listening to WDMN, community radio for the Chaos Realms, the Dreamlands, and even the Mortal Realm. If you know, you know.